Dust coats the back of the throat, tasting of copper and old stone. It is 46 BC on the Via Sacra. The iron rim of a chariot wheel grinds against the basalt, louder than the screaming crowd. Here, Roman generals display their ultimate trophies. The gold and silver are meaningless. The true prizes are the daughters of defeated kings, dragged in heavy chains behind the victor. Princess Arsinoe walks with her head high, but her hands shake. A soldier steps forward and yanks a rope of black pearls from her neck. The string snaps. The gems scatter into the mud, instantly crushed to powder by the marching legions. This is the shattered pearl, a symbol of a lineage broken beyond repair. The mob cheers for the spectacle, blind to the irreversible cost being paid in plain sight. Why does Rome need them alive for this single hour? And what specific terrifying silence was hidden behind the noise of the triumph? Glory is just the mask worn by extinction. If you enjoy these dark histories, leave a like and subscribe and comment below where you're listening from. And now, back to the story. The deafening roar of the Roman mob is cut off by the heavy slam of an iron-bound oak door. The triumph is over. The inventory begins. The air in the holding cells beneath the Capitoline Hill tastes of wet limestone and stale terror. Arsinoe is no longer a spectacle for the masses. She is now a logistical problem for the state. Soldiers strip the ceremonial robes from the captives, replacing them with rough gray tunics that smell of vinegar and unwashed wool. There is no violence in this, only a terrifying, bureaucratic efficiency. A scribe sits at a low table, illuminated by a single sputtering torch. He opens a ledger, the parchment crackling in the damp silence. He does not ask for their names. He assigns them numbers based on their potential political value. Asset 4, he mutters, scratching the ink into the grain. To be relocated. The princesses are weighed and measured like livestock. The lineage of kings is reduced to ink on a page, filed away in a dark cabinet. A guard steps forward with a bucket of water and a loaf of bread. He places it on the floor, but then kicks it slightly out of reach. The mercy offered here is subtle. A legate enters, his boots clean, his voice soft. He offers a villa in the hills, a life of quiet obscurity, and safety from the executioner's strangling rope. All that is required is a signature on a document renouncing all claims to their father's throne. Comfort is a weapon sharper than any blade. Arsinoe stares at the document. Her hands are numb from the cold, but she does not reach for the quill. She stands perfectly still, her breathing shallow and controlled. She does not scream or fight. She simply looks through the legate, fixing her eyes on a dripping crack in the wall. It is a quiet, maddening resistance. She begins to tap a rhythm against her thigh, a silent cadence of a court dance from a palace that no longer stands. The legate waits, the silence stretching until it becomes a physical weight. He realizes the transaction has failed. He signals the guards. The bread is removed. The torch is extinguished, leaving them in total darkness. The comfortable villa vanishes, replaced by the reality of the stone floor. The darkness waits for those who remember their names. The stone walls of the Temple of Artemis in Ephesus are cold, despite the sweltering heat of the Turkish coast outside. This is not a prison of bars, but a cage of holy marble. Arsinoe has been granted sanctuary, a word that tastes like ash. The trial here is not of guilt, but of memory. For months the pressure is soft, almost invisible. Roman tutors arrive with scrolls of Latin poetry. Servants bring heavy Roman silks, replacing the light Egyptian linen. The message is silent but deafening. Become one of us, and you will live. A legate returns, older now. He places a heavy bronze mirror on the table. He tells her that her sister, Cleopatra, sits on the throne only by Rome's permission. He explains the brutal calculus. Arsinoe is kept alive not out of mercy, but as a weapon. She is the replacement part, the backup queen kept in storage should the current ruler fail to please the Senate. This is the answer to the question of survival. Rome does not destroy royal bloodlines. It harvests them. They keep her breathing to ensure her sister remains obedient. Her life is a threat held to another's throat. The realization hits her like a physical blow. To live is to be a tool for the empire that destroyed her home. The legate pushes a document across the marble. It is a letter of gratitude to Mark Antony, written in perfect Latin. He holds out a quill. Sign, he says, his voice flat. And you may walk in the gardens. Arsinoe reaches for the quill. Her hand moves across the table, the shadow of her arm stretching over the parchment. Then, her fingers freeze. She stares at the black ink pooling in the well. For 10 seconds, the only sound is the distant chanting of priestesses. Her hand stops, hovering inches from the paper. She does not tremble. She simply withdraws her hand and places it in her lap. Survival costs more than death when the currency is your soul. "No," she whispers. It is not a shout. It is a statement of fact, cold as the floor. The change is immediate. The legate nods, disappointed but unsurprised. He snaps his fingers. The servants enter and remove the silks, the mirror, and the scrolls. The candles are blown out, leaving only the gray light filtering from the high, clear-story windows. The food portions are halved. The tutors stop coming. The silence expands, filling the room, designed to break the mind when the body refuses to yield. But the deprivation acts as a crucible. In the quiet, the Roman noise fades, and the old prayers return. The isolation was meant to erase her identity, to make her beg for the sound of a Roman voice. Instead, it solidifies her. She paces the perimeter of her sanctuary, measuring the stone in Egyptian cubits, not Roman feet. The prison becomes a fortress of the mind. She realizes that as long as she refuses to become their pawn, she is dangerous. Her silence is not submission, it is a siege. A quiet enemy is the one they should fear most. It is 41 BC. The heavy oak doors of the temple are breached not by a scribe, but by executioners sent by Mark Antony. The sanctuary has been revoked. Arsinoe hears the hobnailed boots grinding against the holy pavement, a sound distinct from the sandal slap of priests. She does not run to the altar to beg for mercy. She knows the time for negotiation has passed. The villa was a lie. The silence was a preparation. In the final moments, she performs a wordless rite of memory. She kneels, not in the Roman fashion, but pressing her forehead to the cold floor in the manner of the pharaohs. From a fold in her tunic, she produces a single, rough white stone, a poor substitute for the shattered pearl lost on the Via Sacra years ago. She does not weep. She wedges the stone deep into a fissure in the marble wall, a hidden anchor for a history they are about to sever. The soldiers drags her to the steps. The sword falls. The deed is done quickly, meant to be a final erasure. The blade cuts the thread, but the knot remains tied. But the earth remembers what history tries to forget. Jump forward to 1926. Austrian archaeologists in Ephesus uncover a strange structure in the center of the ancient city. It is not a standard grave. It is an octagon, shaped like the lighthouse of Alexandria, the home Arsinoe was stolen from. Inside, they find a sarcophagus containing the bones of a young woman. Modern forensic analysis suggests an African lineage consistent with the Ptolemies. Here is the contradiction to the triumph in Act 1. The Romans did not toss her body into a common pit or the sea, as they did with other trophies. They built a monumental tomb in the heart of a bustling city. Act 1 assumed Rome viewed her as a defeated object. The existence of the Octagon proves the opposite. They viewed her as a spiritual threat. They didn't just bury her, they tried to contain her power within heavy geometry, fearing that even in death, her bloodline commanded loyalty. They killed the woman, but they were forced to honor the queen to prevent a riot. Stone is the only witness that never changes its story. The Octagon tomb still stands in Ephesus, a stone anomaly among the Roman ruins. But the victory of erasure is nearly absolute. Over the centuries, the name on the frieze was weathered away by the Aegean wind. There is no plaque to tell the tourists who lies inside. They walk past the monument, cameras clicking, capturing the geometry, but missing the ghost. They see a pile of rocks. They do not see the sister of Cleopatra or the last breath of the Ptolemies. The erasure continued long after Rome fell. During the Second World War, the skull found in the tomb, the only physical proof of Arsinoe's identity, was removed from a museum in Berlin for safekeeping. It vanished in the chaos of the bombings. The final piece of the puzzle was not destroyed by a legionnaire's sword, but by modern negligence. The dossier contains only blank pages. The chain of custody, begun in the cells beneath the Capitoline Hill, ends in an empty box in a dusty archive. On the Via Sacra, the modern asphalt covers the ancient stones. The dust of the shattered pearl is gone, washed into the Tiber 2,000 years ago. The noise of the triumph has been replaced by the drone of city traffic. Rome promised that the daughters of kings would be remembered only as trophies, and in the end, they kept that promise. The monument in Ephesus is a lighthouse that guides no one, a beacon for a ship that was sunk intentionally. The silence is not an accident. It is a meticulously constructed wall. The generals knew that a martyr is dangerous, but a forgotten woman is harmless. They didn't just kill her, they unwrote her. Subscribe, hit the bell, and like. History is written by the victors, but it is edited by the thieves.